I am about to introduce our panelists for today. Welcome back. So our next session is a panel discussion that will shed light on this amazing new initiative that is designed to end and prevent youth and young adult homelessness. Yes. Our moderator will be Stefanie Quintela, Director of Strategic Planning Programs for Coalition for the Homeless. Yes. Stefanie has held various positions throughout her 17-year government career before transitioning into the private industry. Following her passion and desire to serve the community, Stefanie entered into the nonprofit sector in October of 2020. At the coalition, she oversees the youth and income teams. So please join me in welcoming Stefanie Quintela.
I feel like Oprah. I do. Is it working? Yes. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm Stefanie Quintela, and I'm so excited to be able to talk to you guys about the Youth Homeless Demonstration Program. And we have 4 people on our panel that I will introduce, and they'll come up and have a seat. That we're going to kind of try to do this just question and answer little thing, but I'll give you a brief overview of the program before we get started. So first we have Shun Johnson. She's the CEO of TLC Health and Wellness. She's being funded for our coordinated access, and she's also funded for transitional housing, rapid rehousing. So we're excited about that. Our next person is Juliet Stipeche. She's the Executive Director of Workforce Board for Workforce Solutions. And so we're excited to have her with us. And then we have Kenny. He is our chair for our Youth Advisory Board. He works for Collective Action for Youth. And Kenny Easley is also on our steering committee. So he represents the youth on the steering committee. And then our last person is Joe Fuentes. He is the Director of Transformation. Yeah. For Spring Branch Community Health. He also has a transitional housing, rapid rehousing program for YHDP. So, yeah, I'm in super great company. I do want to say that this program was started by HUD, Housing and Urban Development. We received some funding a year ago. $10.5 million was put into our community for the way home to be able to address youth homelessness. And many people were wondering why they wanted to focus strictly on youth homelessness. But when we already had a system, right? We already have a system that addresses homelessness. But with a lot of research that they started back in 2012, and they're still looking at all of this data from these new programs, youth experience homelessness in a very different way than adults do. Right now, our system, the money that comes in from HUD, it's meant to help those people who've been on the street the longest. And so if you're 18 years old, 19 years old, you get kicked out, you're just now on the street. So you don't even qualify a lot of times to get help from the current dollars. So this money is going to actually help to be able to address youth very early on and hopefully stop that cycle of homelessness that happens. So we're going to do some quick question and answers. Hopefully we're ready to go. I'm gonna have to put on my glasses because I'm sorry, but it's that age. All right. We'll start with Kenny. Can you tell the guest here what the Youth Action Board is?
So the Youth Action Board actually are in this room with us. Guys, can you please stand up for me? All of the members, can you please stand up? Yes, so they are here, and actually the YHDP is a group of youth and young individuals that have been affected by homelessness, also that have just been impacted by life in general, not really having that support system that's needed, when you're coming up in life. And honestly, they are the ones that have been training a lot of these nonprofits on how to deal with youth, how to communicate with them, how to work with them, and it not be an issue, and honestly, a lot of the work that we're doing, you need youth, you need the youth to be a part of this work, because if they aren't, you won't really know what you're doing. You won't really know who you're catering to and how to cater to them. And so when we have the youth that are a part of these type of things, it opens doors for us to be able to, manage the people that we're dealing with, and be able to tend to them the way they needed to be tended to. And honestly, it's like another open door type of situation for you to level up and to, be greater in whatever aspect that you feel like you want to be in, whether it be a nonprofit or it be mental health, youth advocacy, whatever it is. Honestly, this is one of those things to where it's like, we're here to support you, we're here to help you. And also we're here to, listen to your voice and listen to the reason that you want to use your voice. Yeah.
Thank you, Kenny. And the cool thing about this YHDP program is that HUD gave us the money so that we would come up with the coordinated community plan. So we have several stakeholders in the room, close to 100. We had a youth leadership writing team that did most of the writing. A year ago, HUD approved our plan. So we were very relieved when that news came through, because that was a lot of work. And we had to get the Youth Advisory Board or Youth Action Board, they had to be on board. They had to sign off on this plan. So they were involved in the planning. They were involved in some of the writing. I know one of the OGs of the YAB, who's not on there anymore, he actually wrote some of the application for the funding. So they were very involved, very important piece of the work. And I do want to just kind of shout out their names. There's Jonathan Alexander, Mooney Williams, Jay Williams, and Celeste Tibet. Yeah, so very important. We have several others that obviously couldn't make it, but I'm super excited to see them. We saw them earlier this week as well. And next question. Let's see. This is to Joe. Is youth homelessness really a problem?
Yes. Next question.
I told him he couldn't do this, and he's doing it.
So much like Kelly Young, I do need some notes just in case. And I was really interested, and thank y'all for allowing me to be on this panel, though I am an older adult, not a youth, as we can tell. So just work with me here. So the best way to really describe it is looking at our HMIS data. And so roughly about 7,000 clients from calendar year 2022 are between the ages of 13 and 24. And we can debate whether 17 to boards youth, but according to all of our funding and other things, that's still development issues going on. So we do have that. When I looked at April 1st all the way until I believe it was the end of March of this year, from 2022 to this year, we roughly had about 3,000, roughly about 3,000 people in the program. And so are exiting. And these are all adult programs. All this information is before we took any specific activities regarding youth or young or young adults. While there are traditional COC programs that originally targeted youth, due to the development of the programs, it became more mainstream and have to serve everybody. So we do the best we can according to access. So this is all before that. So in looking at that too, we also had really about 1,585 youth or young adults that exited the program. And we really had 5 interventions. There's a 6th one, which is diversion, which is new to us right now. So I didn't include those, but they were transitional housing, emergency shelter, outreach, permanent supportive housing, and I want to say rapid rehousing, if I remember correctly. So those are some of the ones that have come to mind in terms of what we've done. So the 129 youth and young adults actually were the ones that came and were experiencing homelessness again. So that was something that was really interesting to me when I was looking at the consolidated plan and everything like that. So based on the plan that you referred to, we have roughly about 1,000 people that are youth and young adults that we say that need housing, and that's before anything. So as we go into this program, we're also realizing the need that we really do need to serve more and that there are more people to be served in this community. So the answer is yes. And
Awesome.
we're funded, so definitely the answer is yes.
Yes, thank you. Next question is for Juliet. And this is interesting because, as I mentioned, Juliet is the executive director of the Workforce Board. And we have a long-standing relationship with Workforce Solutions through our Income Now program for adults. We're starting to, our income team is here as well, and our youth team. We're starting to work together to find youth-specific programs to make sure that these folks that are coming in, that they are connected to education and work supports. So Juliet, with that in mind, is education and training and employing youth and young adults important to prevent and end homelessness?
Yes.
Well,
Good answer.
First and foremost, thank you so much for this opportunity to share the space with these amazing panelists and also to be able to connect and engage with you. We have several members of our team that are here. Latoya, Christy, and Ashley are here. Please get their cards, talk to them before they leave. We are working. I just started in June of last year. So it has been an extraordinary opportunity to look at how we can make the system even better. And so I'm happy that I'm on the stage with Kenny and that there's a youth advisory board that's leading this work as well, because in terms of us being able to design programs that make sense and work, we definitely have to have young people's engagement, involvement, critiques, and creativity. Because when I have always participated in programs in the past, you always see the best of intentionality, but if the right people aren't sitting at the table, what happens? You have to go back and try to correct. You have to go back and improve. And so if you can have the right person sitting at the table from the very beginning, you're setting the stage for tremendous progress from the very start. So with us at Workforce Solutions, we are working on integrating homeless youth, opportunity youth fully into the system. We don't want it any longer to be a one-off program that sits apart by itself, disconnected from the rest. And so we want people to understand the language, the statistics, but also to be able to just break bread and understand the issues, right? And not with you of course want to have the academic knowledge and the statistics, but it's best to also hear from the exact experiences of what's happening right now. We're living in a world that is rapidly changing so dramatically minute by minute. And, now we're talking about AI and chat GPT and all this other type of stuff, but our work is deeply relational and it's human centric. Workforce Solutions works on allowing lifelong learning opportunities. And so we have to learn how we can better engage with our community. So that way we have our career offices, those 28 that appear all over this 13 county region, and our 10 part-time offices, but that in each one of those spaces and places, people can come in. But how are we going to get better at going out into the community and providing resources and meeting people where they are? In redesigning our system, we, of course, have operations. We have another division that's devoted to employer engagement and community partnership. But for the first time, we have a division that is devoted to education. And we have a youth services division, as well as adult education and literacy, and the other high skills, high growth scholarship opportunities that we have available for persons to be able to receive the funding and supports so they can go and find a good career. That will also require us to have wraparound services. To be able to tell folks, when you come in to learn about upskilling opportunities, we're also going to tell you about our childcare opportunities. We're going to tell you about the transportation options that we have. Earlier this week, I went out to El Campo and I met with a group of employers and they were like, Juliet, do you have information on housing? And so while we do not offer housing services, we have great partners that we have to coordinate with. So that way it is a part of a holistic perspective as opposed to just a one-off. So we are redesigning, transforming to be focused on the unique communities that we serve and collaborative so we can better coordinate to offer the care and the supports to allow people to engage with lifelong careers. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I get so excited. This is one of my favorite relationships with Workforce Solutions. Okay, sorry. Shun Johnson. I'm super excited that Shun is here. She's kind of new to the COC, the Way Home world. And this was her first, I believe, award. So how has this funding changed or maybe transformed your work? And what are you most looking forward to through this project?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to be here as well. This award really has allowed us to expand our capacity to serve more youth and young adults experiencing homelessness. Prior to this award, we provided case management, some advocacy services, helping with coordination of services, but the missing piece was the housing. We would have youth and young adults present, we're helping them in a number of ways, but at the end of the day, the lack of safe, affordable and decent housing remained challenging. So I think, this award, allowing us to have the housing piece as well as access to other resources that are available through partners who are also funded has really helped us to better serve the youth and young adults that are presenting to us. And then in terms of what am I looking forward to, was that the second part of it? This has been a very tremendous time for us as a young organization. We're comprised of individuals with the background and the history and the work, but as an organization, it's often sometimes hard to break in and to get the funding. And so it's just been real exciting working with the youth team at the coalition, working with the other partners who are funded through the program and really seeing the work, seeing lives being transformed right before our eyes. That's what it's really about, so that's part of it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Shun. Kenny, give me an example of something that the youth really wanted to see in either the plan or the design of the program that kind of stuck out to you, and what did you guys do to make sure it was included?
So two things. One thing's first, doing cultural competency trainings for the other nonprofit organizations was something that really intrigued the YAB. They were very, happy to be able to show others how to deal with people like themselves. And I could just tell it put them in a better space, a better headspace, knowing that they were giving off the knowledge that they have to others, that may come off as more knowledgeable than them, because the YAB consists of people who have been through certain things, and a lot of us in this room have not been through some of those things. Mm-hmm. So we can't tell them, how their experience was. We can only listen. And when they have that ear to basically talk to, it puts them in a better headspace. When we just shut up and listen, they actually feel more comfortable with being more vulnerable, because they don't feel like they're being put in a box, so they don't feel like they're being told what to do. So the cultural competency, and then also professional development. They love professional development. When I say love it, it's like second nature to them. Every time I turn around, they want something new, either digital literacy training or mental health training, just so they can have these things under their belt. So if they do decide to leave the YAB or move on or transition to somewhere else, something better, they can take those things with them. And then also they can spread and host their own trainings and do their own mentoring programs. And it puts them in a different, more genuine light. And I can tell from them just sitting in meetings to when they're actually hosting the meetings, they feel so much like the dynamic is different, and when you're actually there to see it from one standpoint to another, you can really see the difference. And it makes me feel good, literally. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Kenny. Joe, what were some unforeseen challenges? And bear in mind, we started this in January. So we went live January. Now we're at April. So we're still babies in this work. But I know we've already seen some challenges. So what are some challenges that you didn't think about that now you're starting to see?
One of the largest challenges has been with just securing transitional housing. That has been probably one of the largest piece. The best piece of that, though, is we do have flexible funding, which was also noted in the plan. That's allowed us to do a hybrid between transitional housing and rapid rehousing. But finding locations where YA need to be or where CREST to be has been very difficult. Finding landlords who are willing to work with the population has been very difficult. While the population itself has not been difficult, it's been the landlords that have been difficult in trying to establish MOUs and contracts. And so there's a lot of word out on the street about, what we can pay for. There was landlords incentives and all these other kind of things. And so some of these landlords expect it. And so it's always us being, a good custodian of public funds to making sure that we're not overpaying for things. The other piece is all the additional or special activities that this grant allows for was internally trying to figure out all the things and how to pay for internet, pay for some other things, keeping people beyond 36 months on this project. And so we were fortunate, and we had a really great HUD project officer, Amy Harmon, I believe is her name, who's been wonderful about making sure that we got pretty much every single special activity that we could think of and got it approved. So I'm really grateful for that. But again, transitional housing and the lack thereof has been really difficult with this project for us. But we did secure 2 facilities, 3.
But y'all did.
And so they're working out really, really well, but we hope to continue that pattern. And so it's not been a challenge, but I do want to say, and you'll probably speak it earlier, that this has been, I'm always surprised when I get pulled into something, I'm like, this is the last grant or anything I'll ever do. And it's never the case. And maybe feel young for a couple of days. But the collaboration between the YAB and that interaction, and also between the service providers, and even those that maybe not been funded, but that are part of our network, has been really, really great. And so it's been even closer than the other experiences I've had with just the COC. Not that they've been bad, but just a little bit different and more meaningful to me. So I really want to thank y'all for that opportunity. So it's been great.
Awesome. Yeah. We do like to say we're a little village, right, Quana? It's like our little town in Houston. Juliet, what kind of youth specific programs are available through the Workforce Solutions?
So Workforce Solutions, we have, for instance, a program that started about a year ago, the Next Gen program, in which we're working with service providers to work with opportunity in our youth, the 16 to 24-year-olds, that this is the first program of its kind that was designed and developed with some residual WIOA youth funding. And so that was a conscientious effort on the part of the board to focus on our vulnerable youth that are disconnected. And so it has been a great learning experience with the partners that are a part of that association, giving us the granular knowledge of what is happening in the various communities that we serve. I tell you, it's like previously, before joining Workforce Solutions, I was at the city of Houston, and I was like, boy, the city of Houston's so large. The county, Harris County, massive. You can fit the entire state of Vermont in the footprint, right? And now we've got 13 counties. So this area is extraordinarily large. And trying to look at the unique demographics of each one of the communities is mind-blowing. And in each one of the communities, if we focus on those that are most vulnerable, then we can create and design a system that actually makes sense. And that's a lesson that I learned post-Hurricane Harvey when we were at the city of Houston. It said, always put the children first, make sure you focus on the youth, and design programs for the most vulnerable. So I take those lessons that we learned from all of these different crises that we experienced over the last 5 years and say, what can we learn from those crises and disasters to enhance our system so that way we're resilient, not just during a disaster, but at all times. And so, our programs include, we have an affiliation with the Higher Houston Youth Program. We have WIOA funding that we provide to eligible youth to have work-based learning opportunities. We're working on systems in which we can design and develop pre-apprenticeship programs for young people. We're looking on trying to connect more young people to apprenticeship programs so that way they can earn and learn at the same time and have a connection to an employer who's going to engage them, provide them with the social capital and connections that they need to be able to succeed. Our hope is to be able to give information to young people so they can make a conscientious decision about their future. So that way they don't have to go over and over and try to find out for themselves. We are here to serve, but we need your help to conduct outreach so that way we can have the right young people at the right time to be able to connect them as early as possible to the opportunities that we have. I've heard countless number of employers say, we can't find enough people for our jobs. And I'm like, my goodness, we have such talent and people that are available. But for some reason or another, there has just been dramatic disconnects. Your advocacy work and what is happening here in coordinating this efforts is truly transformative. Because as you said, it's the village coming together so that way the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. And I thank you for allowing Workforce Solutions to be a part of this village because we have resources. I tell folks, it's like, my goodness, we have about almost $500 million that we can invest in childcare, upskilling opportunities, work-based learning, apprenticeship, but it isn't any good if we can't spend it. And it's like what Joe was saying, sometimes you get money, it's like, how do you get it effectively implemented? It takes connections. It takes networks. And our networks, as we build them, and as we have youth connecting into our networks as well and serving as our leaders and advocates, then we can become better at serving our youth and our community with their knowledge at the table. Everyone needs that seat at the table. And I just, our programs will continue to be designed and developed over time. But we do have work-based learning opportunities, on-the-job training, apprenticeship programs, but I can't wait to see what more we can do.
Awesome. Thank you. And we are definitely plugged into next gen and work-based learning. And I actually plucked someone from Workforce Solutions to be our manager of income teams. He's here as well, Omar Martinez. So we're super excited that he has those relationships. It can bring that skill to our team. All right, Shun, what was it like working with the Youth Action Board?
It was fun. I have a great deal of respect for our Youth Action Board. They are very committed, they're present, and they are everywhere we need them to be. They're very honest about their experiences. They give themselves room to be vulnerable. They share the things with us that we need to know as adults and really help us better serve them from their lens, from their perspective of what they need, what's important to them versus just what we think. Our YAB is very, very active. We sit in on community meetings with other regions and, listening to what other regions are doing, but also understanding the value and the hard work and the effort that's put forth by our YAB. It just goes a long way. The thing that I think was impressed upon me more than anything is that we take a lot of things for granted. And, being able to hear and understand some of the experiences and just things that are going on with, in the lives of our YAB members, it just really has, I think, helped us all to do a better job of, not leaning towards adultism, but also leaning in towards doing the work and being present in a way and showing up in a way that's meaningful and that's helpful to youth and young adults. Our YAB, and I could go on and on about them, but, I say they're very active, but, from being, part of the writing for the coordinated community plan, to holding community stakeholder meetings. They also facilitated a lot of those meetings, breakout sessions. And one thing that I really love, and I know our team really appreciates, is that the training that we receive from them. Kenny talked about, the professional development. Our YAB provides that to youth service providers under the YHDP program. I think as a whole, I think we're all doing a better job because of this. And I just want to, give a round of applause to the YAB for their commitment and everything that they're doing.
Did you want to follow up with anything, Kenny?
Sure. Actually, the YAB is, like she said, they are very active. They were a part of last year's RFP process, which was very long. But we stuck through it. We got through every single last meeting, every single last piece of paper that needed to be signed, read, whatever. We did it. But yes, they're very active, and we all the time, whenever we host something or whenever we're doing something for other nonprofits, they pull us to the side all the time. We loved it. We loved the training. We loved everything that you all did. I'm sorry, another thing that I forgot to mention was when they did a community give back for the homeless. And that was something that really touched my heart and made me want to go harder for this work. We went to, Minute Maid Park. And before they cleared it out, we went to every single tent and gave them clothes, I can't think, hygiene products, food. We literally gave them everything, haircuts, like just about everything, showers. Seeing their reactions, it put a smile on my face, like a real genuine smile on my face and my heart. And I could tell that the YAB are really enjoying just, taking charge and, helping the people out, helping the community that they came from. And yeah, they're just, it's just so much. Like I could really just keep going on, but I'm a chill.
Thanks, Kenny. I guess we'll ask a couple more questions, then we'll open it up to the audience and to the people that are watching us via internet. What does anyone have a success story that they want to share? And again, we just started in January, but does anyone have a success story they would like to share?
We secured transitional housing. That was probably the largest.
That is a success story.
I mean, the interesting part about it is that with the timeline that we had for this whole plan and just the grant, that we always felt we were behind, and we really weren't, but internally we felt that way. So that was really the biggest hurdle, I think, and really made the project complete. And then again, with everybody here in the integration of the YAB, we have our own YAB for the agency, which is a little bit different than the YAB here, but we utilize both because we need that cross section in terms of diversity as well. And that's the other thing I think that's been kind of, I've kind of mentioned a little bit before in terms of just LGBTQI. We have a lack of representation for Hispanic Latinos, especially monolingual speaking Spanish, and we're already missing that population. So, and we're making some strides in that across the board. So, I think those are some of the successes I can think of right now.
Awesome. And Shun?
Yes. So echoing on what Joe said, it was really challenging finding housing. We were out meeting with landlords, and, when you're meeting out there and they're hearing you're working with people who are, experiencing homelessness, it's not always, you're not always received with open arms, and I think we just really kind of had to get creative in how we talked about our program. We really had to kind of focus on the positive benefits and really, try to make partners of these landlords. And we've been really, lucky, I'm going to say, because it was looking pretty bleak and dire. And as Joe said, we just really felt like we were behind. But, we have made 2 connections at 2 complexes. And, we really feel like they're also committed to the work and committed to positive youth development. In addition, I kind of like to talk about one particular program participant that we're working with. I think it's easy for us to take human connections for granted. If you're someone who has positive and healthy connections, it may not necessarily be, within your frame of thought to understand what life could be like to be void of these connections. One of the goals, overarching goals with the program was permanent connections. And so, working with youth and young adults, we've seen a lot in a short period of time. And, one particular participant just kind of comes to mind. This young lady was placed into foster care right after birth. Her mother was struggling with, drug abuse, substance abuse, and her father was absent. She spent most of her life in group homes. She had one home placement. Like, I couldn't imagine spending my whole life in group homes, missing that connection of a family. And the the placement that she had, it was in her 17th year, and it was with her father and his girlfriend and their infant. She was there a few months. It did not work well. He had been absent most of her life, and he was still absent. And so she was back to a group home. She aged out of foster care. And after that, which was last year, she was homeless, living on the street, couch surfing, sleeping in cars and other places just not meant for human habitation. When our staff met with her, I think she came in February. During her intake, she was asked for an emergency contact. And she said, call 911, and when you think about that, and so, they pressed because, in different ways trying to, get information because we need emergency contacts. And she said, you'd have better luck calling 911 than anyone that I know. And in the end, she provided her caseworker at the Hay Center. And she came on into the program recently. She's in a shared housing plan. She has a roommate. And they're finding their way. This young lady had a lot of challenges in foster care. She's kind of small in stature, so she had to fight a lot, but she's got a lot of fight in her that we know can be turned into a positive thing. And so, we have already seen tremendous change in her. Her attitude is much better. She and her roommate are bonding. She works full time. She's a hard worker. Now we're working on the anger management and, she's signing up for GED classes and anger management classes because if she feels mistreated in a job, she will quit. But the thing about her, she's very resilient. She finds another job. We're so happy to have this opportunity. I said the biggest part of this is transforming lives. And again, we take so many things for granted, but just to see these small steps with this young lady, she checks in with her case manager almost daily. The case manager said, well, you don't have to call me every day, but she said, well, no, I want to. And she said, for the first time in my life, I feel like people care about me.
Yeah. Thanks, Shun. The last question for the panel, and just whoever wants to answer, or if all of you want to answer, that's fine. And then we'll open it up to questions to the audience. What can other service providers do that don't necessarily serve youth and young adults if they happen to come across a youth or young adult who's at risk of homelessness or is homeless? What can they do?
I'll take it. So on the spot, right then and there, even though your organization or whoever it is that you're working for, they don't serve to you, find somebody that serves you. We're all in spaces like this to where we know somebody that's working with you. We can't just say, oh, I don't know anybody, or I can't find anybody. We all have phones. We all have tablets, laptops, whatever. These areas have a lot of programs and organizations that are catering specifically for youth. So honestly, just try, as if they were somebody that you could cater to, just try with pure intentions, be genuine about it, because if you're not, then you won't get genuine results, honestly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things, and I'm going to speak from a service provider kind of perspective, which kind of touches what Kenny's talking about, but I'll try to use our language. We're all trained in trauma-informed care, all these other kind of evidence-based interventions, and really apply those to youth, with probably the difference of maybe having the positive youth development model. But there are trainings on the website. The coalition can take advantage of. There's so many trainings that are being offered right now, especially targeting YYA. And I think we could all do a better job in making sure we're attending those trainings as well. So they are available, but just taking that skill set that you have and kind of focusing that, whether it's motivational interviewing, what else we have, cognitive behavioral therapy, we have all these really great skills in our agencies, and really kind of translate that to youth. And like Kenny said, we know somebody. Somebody knows somebody. If not, call the YAB. It's the best resources we have right now, and getting that direct feedback. So that would be kind of my thing I would suggest to take advantage of. And it's free in CEUs sometimes. So.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else?
Based on my experience in the past, the first thought that comes to mind is like, see something, say something, right? It's kind of like these phrases that you think about just generally, but the curating of information is so important, right? Because it's like, what I found is like massive quantities of information. You get lost in a sea of it. And so that's why it's imperative for the group to be able to curate a list, not just that has the name, but has the people devoted to helping. So it's connecting to a network that knows how to serve. And so that's why these meetings are so important, because it's like, as we get this, you want the experts, right? You want people that you can trust. You want folks that have an understanding of the language and the culture and the sensitivity to be able to truly serve with respect. And so, you know, I've had so many different opportunities to meet with a wide array, as everyone in this room has, right? And then there's some that you put in your file cabinet. And then the other ones you put in a special file cabinet with this shred bin, right? You don't want to deal with these, but it's like we in this space, in this safe space, need to be careful to curate that information so that we potentially, I always said I wanted to create a laundry list or a clearinghouse of low cost, no cost, quality resources that could be readily available for the community.
And I'd just like to add, you know, as Kenny mentioned, you know, showing up authentically, you know, removing the adult lens and really trying to see things from the perspective of the youth and young adults. You know, we know that, you know, sometimes, you know, workers may have, you know, heavy caseloads. They may have, you know, lots of clients that they need to see. But, you know, really being present in that moment with that youth or young adult and really giving them a safe place, a safe space to really talk about the things that they're experiencing. And if you don't have the resources, you know, as other panelists have mentioned, you know, reaching out to the YAB, reaching out to the coalition, you know, referring that youth through the coordinated access system and just, you know, going that extra step, because you don't know what those few minutes that you have with that youth or young adult may mean and how that may change the trajectory of their lives.
Thanks, Shun. And if you can't tell, like for me, working with youth servicing providers, it's like, and I've worked with a lot of providers, and everyone's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but youth service providers are special. And it's been so fun for me and for our team to get to know all of the people that receive funding, plus all of the people that don't receive funding that work with us through this collaboration, because we can't end youth homelessness with the money we received for the 2 years. So I do want to make sure I shout out to the youth team. Kwana is the manager. She's waving over there. Laura Banks is an associate with our team. And Charles Manning is a specialist. He used to be on the YAB as well, but he works for us now. And then we have a few other providers. I know Eva with Temenos has the permanent supportive housing with YHDP. And I don't know if Search is here. Search is here. Yes, Search has outreach and housing navigation, and Montrose Center. Is Montrose Center? Yep. Grace Place. Thank you, Covenant House. Look, and I even saw you this morning. Covenant House has transition to housing, rapid rehousing. So, like I said, beautiful people. We're just super happy to work with them. And please go to our website, the coalition website, look up YHDP. You'll see our webpage and you'll find out all the work that we're doing and a lot of great resources too. So I'll turn it over to you for a question.
Well, thank you so much for your wonderful moderation, Stefanie, Quintela. So we will be taking a few questions for our YHDP panelists. So I will walk around if you raise your hand, and I will share the mic also too. My colleague Katina will be walking around. If we could please keep all comments and questions short, so that way we can give audience members a chance to ask. And I also believe we have a couple of online questions as well. If you are live and you are seeing this, you can use the chat function to ask your question or comment.
Thanks, Ashley. So we have two questions coming in from online. Krista Harvey asks a question for Kenny. What is something you would like people to know that would help us better serve youth? And also Rosanna Ishii asks where we can find more information on the free training you mentioned, CBT and motivational interviewing. Thanks.
Okay, so to answer that question, one of the things that you can do is if your organization does cater to youth, make sure you are receiving the cultural competency trainings. Make sure you're receiving any type of training that is coming from the YAB, because that is the only way you'll really truly know how to cater to the youth that have been affected by homelessness, that don't have support systems, that have been kicked out on the street as teenagers, or just for even coming out, as their sexuality and who they are. Yeah, just receiving as many trainings and reaching out to the YAB, just talking to them, even asking for advice, just like simple things, just reaching out to those young professionals. This is really like the main thing you can do. Yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Thank you so much. And we'll take a question, comment over here.
Hi, y'all. Cabrian Southern here. Quick question for those who aren't too familiar with YHDP. Can you explain the age range in which you serve through the program? That's the first question. Then I have a second one. I'll let you go.
Oh, me? Okay. If I'm not mistaken, it's 16 through 24.
Perfect.
18 through 24. I'm sorry. 16 to 3. 16?
Okay.
I was okay. So
Okay.
yeah, 16 to 24.
The houses. Yeah.
Oh,
We're 17 emancipated to 24.
So 16-ish through 24.
that part.
Yes. On
Perfect.
average, yes.
My second question is for our partners or those who are in the audience and aren't here with us today. If they're interested in participating on the YAB, how can they get in contact with you guys to learn more?
Well, if you want to participate, actually, I can network with you a little bit after this. I can give you one of my cards. We can do some conversating, and I'll let you know, if we are, if we can fit, some extra partners in there for YAB members. But honestly, yeah, just reach out to me. I can honestly give you one of my other coworkers' information as well. But I'm here. It's pretty much all you need.
That was smooth.
Well, thank you. We do have another question or comment over here.
Good morning. When I was active in homeless outreach with the Houston Police Department, there was two groups that were almost impossible to house. One was sex offenders. The other one was 17-year-olds. It was terrible. They were too old for the juvenile system, but too young for emergency shelters. Luckily, we had Covenant House that worked with us, and through some outside the box thinking, we were able to help everybody. But that was a problem in 2010. It was a problem in 2017 when I retired. But I think you may have answered that question. Am I correct? And 17-year-olds are now able to get into housing, and whether it's emergency housing with obviously, hoping to get into permanent supportive.
Yes, sir, they are. And to help prevent something like that, if anybody's ever going through a situation to where, it's difficult to connect with the youth that you're dealing with, just some of the things that I try to, give out. Try to have like a snack bar set up, or like maybe even like a little TV or something, a little cooler with like some drinks. Make them feel at home, make them feel comfortable, even if they aren't hungry, offer them some candy or something, just try to make them feel more comfortable. Because once you get them in that spot to where they feel like they can kick their shoes off, you'll get anything you want from them. You can ask them anything under the sun and they will tell you, because they feel like they're safe. They feel like they're being cared about genuinely. So just like those small things that'll really help you to really get through to your youth. And I will say, at 17, I was a little bit rebellious myself, but that's because in that time frame, we're really just trying to find our way and find ourselves. At that time, we're kind of like growing into adulthood, so we're really kind of like not listening to anybody. But in actuality, we need to listen. So, just being there and letting them know your intention of the conversation, of your actions, and snacks as well.
Snacks go a long way. I'd like to add one thing. I think what's really unique about this program and what's great is that we have so many service providers, and different service providers bring something different to the table. And so as you're speaking about 17-year-olds, our agency does not necessarily work with the 17-year-olds, but, Covenant House does see a lot of them. And so really, being able to meet the youth and young adults where they are and find a solution for whatever issue they're facing is really exciting. And, if you don't have it within your agency, that there's a partner agency a phone call away, an email away that's, ready to assist and help out.
Thank you so much for your responses and everything. I do remember 17-year-old. God bless us. So I believe we have one more question online. No. Okay. Yes. Okay. So instead of one more question, we would like to thank each one of our YHDP panelists for being with us today, for answering, and for talking about our exciting new initiative. Keep it up. Now we will actually take a break for lunch. So please enjoy your lunch. Please enjoy each other's company, and we will return at 11:45. I will give you a 5-minute warning when it's time to come back. Please enjoy.